Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. As you guys can tell, we are at Mikey's house. We have a new mod coming for the Land Cruiser today and I'm going to show you guys what it is. I know a couple of you have stated what it is in the comments in the previous videos and on Instagram. If you don't follow me on there at the OGzilla, you guys are going to see what's going in this today. So we're about to jack the vehicle up, loosen the wheels, and show you what's going to be going. I'm not sure the front, the rear, maybe, but Valley, Hybrid, and Cruiser Brothers, thank you George so much for providing this mod that I'm going to show you guys in a few minutes. Again, without him it wouldn't be possible. So again, I'm going to link all the stuff in the description below, what I got, where I got it from, and who I got it from. So again, thank you George so much, and let's get on to this video. Here it is guys, we have the Harrop e-locker that was provided by Cruiser Brothers, Valley Hybrids. Again, thank you George so much for sending this over to us. This is going to be an install kit for the Harrop e-locker. It is going in the rear diff of my 81. My 81 did not come with a front or rear locker, so it only has a center locking diff as every other Land Cruiser does. Unfortunately, I did not get a Land Cruiser with lockers, but I am happy to put the Harrop e-locker in here. It's definitely a stronger version of a factory e-locker. I did not want to go to ARB because I've had air ride in multiple vehicles where valves leak, air lines break. I didn't want to do that, so this is the route that I want to go. So we're gonna install this. This is gonna be an install video for the Harrop e-locker for my HDJ81. So those of you that are looking to do this, please look at the video and we're gonna try to take it step by step and show you guys how to install this Harrop e-locker. Again, thank you very much George from Cruiser Brothers and Valley Hybrids for sending over this. The Driveshaft bolts are a 14mm to take off so we can access the rear diff and continue the install for the rear locker. So again, 14mm for the Driveshaft bolts. The drive shaft is disconnected. We're going to drain the rear diff. We took the fill plug out on the other side. That is a 24mm, so that's out. And then we are going to remove the drain plug, which is also a 24mm, and we have new plugs going in, so there'll be a new fill plug and a new drain plug going in as well. I filled this rear diff about maybe 3,000 Ks ago, and you can tell the fluid is still pretty nice, but it kind of sucks that, you know, I've pretty much flushed it not too long ago. But we're going to put new fluid in there. I have AMSOIL severe gear fluid going in the rear. I will eventually flush the front again, the trans and the transfer case from going off-roading. So you gotta stay on top of your maintenance, make sure you get that going. But we're gonna let this flush and I'm gonna start tearing apart the rear axle so we can install this locker. 17mm, remove the brake calipers. Calipers off, the rotor is also off. That just pretty much slips right off. And we're doing the same thing to the other side now. The next step is going to be removing the outside cover for pretty much what you're gonna use to access the axle. So it is a 12mm nut, and then you're gonna remove a regular washer, and then underneath the regular washer is either, you can use the term cone washer, conical washer, whatever term it might actually be used for it. I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna go with a cone washer. The other side was a little rough to take off, but we made it happen, and hopefully this side might be a little easier. But as you can see, it's soaked in WD-40. Let it sit for a few minutes and then we're going to continue to remove it. And pretty much the other side, I'll show you here after this clip of what it looks like when it's done. Pretty much the whole cover just slips off and your pretty much axle is accessible from there. And once you remove all the nuts and washers, this is what it looks like. Don't need to take it out all the way, but we'll figure out where we need to be with it. That's just pretty much a little bit of fluid dripping out, not staying in the driveway. So we're leaving it like that for a little bit. We're going to do the other side and then continue on with the install. Alright, so as you can see, this is what it looks like. It's just a cone washer. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before, but this is what the older Toyotas used on their axles. So that's a cone washer, conical washer, whatever you'd like to call it. But these are what are pretty much on the exterior of the cap here when you remove your axle. So it's a regular washer and then this cone washer. Big thank you to Georg for sending us new gaskets, because this one ripped completely to shreds. The other side was actually pretty good, but if I would have known any better, I would have forgotten to order these and would have been stuck here without a gasket to reseal the end of the axle. Time to take off the cover for the rear diff, and it is a 14mm socket to remove the nuts off the rear differential. It was actually sealed on extremely tight, so we used a floor jack with a little 2x4 and broke the seal because it just wouldn't come off for anything. With a rubber mallet, even slamming it hard, it just wouldn't come off. So if you can run into that issue, a floor jack with a mini 2x4, literally one crank, and it broke the seal at the bottom, letting obviously the fluid drain. As you can see, it's still a little bit, but let it drain completely and then remove the cover. The differential is finally out. So I didn't record that portion because it required 2 people to pull it down. It's actually decently heavy, especially when you're not using a lift, so the awkward angle of being on the ground definitely doesn't give you an advantage to taking it out by yourself. So Mikey and I removed it together. Still draining a little bit of fluid, but I'm going to show you what the differential looks like. I think she looks pretty good for being 27 years old. I mean, I'm no major mechanic whatsoever, and this stuff really interests me. So Mikey showed me pretty much for the first time, seeing it in person, about measuring backlash on the gearing. So this is going to be replaced by the Harrop E-Locker, and we're using the stock gearing, stock ring and pinion, and this is going to be going on, or going out, and the new E-Locker is going to be going on to this current setup. So we're measuring the backlash now, so we know where it's at when we put the new E-Locker in.
And we're right about 12 thou.
So we rotated about 180 degrees and going to repeat the measurement on this side as well.
Okay, push it down. About 8.5 thou.
So we just marked the caps 1 and 1 on this side, so you know which caps go on which side. And this side we're just going to do 2 and 2, so we know that this cap goes on this side again. Again, it's not doing any harm, it's just pretty much marking what side goes to what side when we put it back together. So we're removing the side caps now on both sides, but there's a locking tab here, which is a 12mm socket. You're going to want to remove that first, and then remove the 17mm socket, which removes the caps on each side, so we could go further with the removal of the factory diff here. So after removing the bearing caps, we remove the adjuster nut on the one side for now. We're going to see if we need to do both, but we might, but we're not sure yet. We're going to try to do one for now and see if we can just do the one side. So it looks like this side came off anyway once we pulled it off, so everything is completely off. We're keeping it divided. You need to keep everything on the respective side that it was on. So make sure when you do this install that you keep everything on the side that it was on. I'm going to reiterate that again. Keep everything on the side it was on. Again, mark it, punch it. We put 2 punch on this side, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top, and we put 4 punches on this side, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, so we know where everything goes when we go to reassemble the differential. 19mm socket to remove all these nuts off the ring gear. 14mm socket to take out those bolts, and the rest of the bolts from the flip side we're taking apart, and now we're taking off the ring gear. We were able to get the ring out and are reassembling the differential. So it looks like it had LSD, but if it was working or not, you know, I wasn't completely sure. But putting it back together, we got the ring out here that we needed. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Probably sell it. I'm not sure. We'll see. But we're gonna reassemble this and get it out of the way and move on to the next step.
Okay. All the bolt holes are lined up.
So the ring is fitted on the new E-locker differential. And just got to put the bolts on this. So we're reusing the bolts from the old differential for the Harrop E-locker. All these bolts and nuts are tight now, 19mm. We're getting closer to reassembly here, and the bearing is going to go on here. We're just going to find the right size tube to pretty much get the bearings seated on here. But so far everything is going great. Again, 19mm for these nuts and bolts up here to get it reassembled with the ring on the new diff. The bearing is on the one side, and now we're doing the other side. So we have to find a tube pretty much just as similar as the interior of the bearing so we can seat it properly on the differential. So that's what we're doing right now, seating that nicely. Put the race on the other side, and then we're good to go as far as the bearings are on the new differential.
We're good.
We mocked up the new locker in the differential housing, and we marked where the new hole is going to be for the wiring. So it's right there, black Sharpie. You can't really kind of tell too much, but we're going to drill a hole through the cover here and then show you the outcome once it's done. So where are we sitting at now after install?
Just a tick over 7 thou.
So now we're rotated 180 degrees and checking the backlash on this side now.
Oops.
So the batteries on the drill earlier were pretty much dying, so we had to wait for them to recharge. And while we did, cleaned off the old gasket on the cover here, and then I did it on the actual axle. So that took honestly a little bit of time because it was all glued on there, and it is 28 years old, so it took a bit. But we got the hole, you can see here. Hold on, let me make it a little bit brighter. There we go. You can see the grommet here, which is eventually going to seep in through the cover, but it's drilled through so you can run the lines for the E-locker. So it's 29/64 drilled through for the lines to come out on this side. Again, the grommet's not seated in yet. No, we're going to do that here shortly. We're just making sure everything's tightened up and torqued to spec. These are going to be torque necks, and then we're going to start putting everything back together here and run the lines for the E-locker. You can see the grommet in there. I'm using the flashlight on my phone to kind of show you. That is one thick grommet, so it should not leak. Trying to get it through the hole that we drilled here was pretty hard. So you can see the wires, the grommet there. And again, it's relatively thick, so it should have no issue with it leaking any fluid. But if it does, we'll figure out an alternative, but I think we'll be okay. Again, 29/64 for this hole through the differential cover. Everything is looking good though. So far so good, and we're gonna start putting everything and finalizing the installation for the Harrop E-locker. George sent us over new fill and drain plugs for the differential. Thank you so much, George. I like these because they have the Allen key head instead of having to put a socket on it, because as most of the 80 owners know, that you have either or will eventually bottom out on your diff and destroy the socket end of your drain plug. So I've done it already, and it'll get to a point where it'll strip and you won't be able to get it off. So these are really helpful. Again, thank you, George, for sending these over. I'm really happy to put these in because they are going to be very helpful when I want to go drain and fill my differential in the future, and they are magnetic, as you can tell. I cleaned up the gasket residue on the differential axle side of it. Mikey WD-40 inside, we cleaned that because we used a wire brush and some shavings got inside, so we want to make sure before we put anything in there that we got all the shavings and all the residue out of there. So we're going to put the differential with the Harrop E-locker back on the vehicle, and after that we're going to remove the axles to clean the gasket residue. As you can see on there, George provided us with new gaskets for the axles, so we're going to put that on there after we're done cleaning it and continue on with the installation for you guys. A little bit of RTV to seal this back up, but the funny part is that I actually bought differential gaskets a while back and I left them at home and I didn't think about them until I got here. So we're going to improvise and use RTV to seal this thing back up. We're going to move it underneath the car and put this back up there. So it requires two people, so I will be back in a few minutes. So the new gasket is on. We're putting some anti-seize, so the conical washers that we took off were a pain in the butt. So hopefully next time that we have to take them off, they're not, you know, as hard as they were this time around. So this one side is pretty much done, and we're gonna move on to the passenger side, finish that up, and as you can tell, the differential is back on the vehicle. We got the passenger side tire on, and we got the driver's side tire on. So we are making progress. Pretty much the rear end is put back together. We just need to get fluid in it. The drive shaft is being connected as we speak by Mikey, and the gaskets on the rear done, and the wiring is being ran underneath. So we're gonna figure out a place to put that and which switch I'm gonna end up using, because George provided us with a factory switch and an aftermarket switch. So we're gonna see which one we're gonna go with. We're gonna try to go with the factory one, but we're gonna see where it leads us to. So stay tuned. I'll show you guys where we end up running it. We have the hood open and we got relays and stuff that we got to plug in. So we're gonna hammer that, but so far so good. The process has been pretty smooth. There's detailed directions that come with it. So if anybody's interested in doing a Harrop E-locker, I highly suggest it, because it is a detailed kit and it is, for the most part, straightforward. Mikey and I ran into an issue earlier, but you know, when you run into an issue, you pull out the old handy dandy manual that comes with your kit. So step 28 is test electronics. Test the electronics by turning on the ignition in the vehicle, activate the E-locker switch to the on position, rotate the drive shaft a minimum of 1 full revolution while attempting to hold one wheel stationary. While the drive shaft is being turned, you should feel the wheel that is being held stationary lock as both wheels begin to rotate together. If lockup is not evident, check to confirm proper electrical connections. So what Mike and I were doing, and it seems like this was, you know, what people would do back in the day, is if you turn one wheel, right, the other one would turn in the other direction. So that's what would happen. So we're turning the drive shaft, full for rotation, right? And then I'm going to try to hold this stationary with my foot. And I can't even turn it now because my foot's blocking this wheel on the driver's side. I can't turn it for anything, and the other wheel won't turn on its own. So you can tell that the E-locker is now working. I can't go any further, and once I let go with my foot, once I get it out, you can tell that it is indeed working. Both wheels are going in the same direction, and that, ladies and gents, is the Harrop E-locker conclusion for this install. So now E-locker is off, and one wheel's spinning freely, another one is literally doing absolutely nothing. The vehicle is in neutral, by the way, so the other wheel's not spinning. But that's it for you. That shows that the E-locker is working phenomenal. We're going to try it off-road. That's going to be the next upload for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Please, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. I know I'm in an awkward position, but I apologize, and I'll see you guys in the next upload. Take care.